away every year, and the kids always seem to like the trials 'cause it's small and I guess they can jump in and out of it, and it's a bit of a novelty compared to normal cars. But unfortunately, with sort of 48 hours to go before it was due on the field for them to explore, the car was in this sort of state, and I was only just got bits back for it. So it was a bit of a rush to get it back together. I had some other bits to put on, but I still haven't done them, the steering rack being one of them that you just saw then, because that I made a bush for it, but I never had time to fit that bush, so I'll have to come back to that. But the rest of it's basically alright. I had some new Hillman kingpins and various other bushes and bits and bobs, brake cylinders, and hopefully to get it all basically ready to go. I hadn't got tyres for it, and I was using the old wheels and tyres, but that doesn't matter for what it's doing around the farm or for the kids to play on. I don't think they were too bothered. It's a bit of a fiddle getting it back together, but nothing too major. The worst thing was the Hillman kingpins, the little seals and bits and bobs on those. They were a right fiddle. I edited a lot of the fiddling around out of it because it was not really very interesting, although it's debatable how much of it's interesting at all. I also found, because I'd washed it before I put it in the shed, when I got it out of the shed, the clutch had seized on at the end. There's a bit of video coming out of the shed, and it stalls and stalls and stalls, but persevered with it and got it out and running round, and it freed off as I ran it round the farm a bit. These shock absorbers is another thing that I've got to try and get some new ones of those. I haven't established exactly what they're off yet, other than some sort of old-fashioned trials bike type thing, I would think. A bit more crowded in the shed at the moment because Austin 7, but it was a wooden body. I didn't want to leave it outside, having gone to so much trouble to get it made. So we're going to have to live with it. This was all just easy at this point because it's just reconnecting the links and reconnecting the dampers. So it's just using the old bolts. It was nothing difficult or horrible at all. Hardest thing's failing eyesight of the person doing it. started to get a bit more fiddly here because the kingpins have got little seals top and bottom. The kingpins were very tight in the bushes because it was all new stuff. It was a bit of a brutish hammer, but I just loosened it off a little bit, and then I had to measure it up to shim the actual kingpin itself, so there wasn't too much play in it. It's not too tight, so it was a bit, and then the cotter pin things were a bit difficult to get in because of the paint that was on the axle. A bit of space, and then rusting out with it. On the axle where the kingpins sit on, it was going to file it. It's not filing a great deal of material away, just neatening up a few little scuffs and bruises on it, so that it's got a nicer face to run on. Just measuring now for the shims. There's some shims come in the kingpin kit, so you can shim it out to what you want, which is handy. See that white nylon bush on the floor that I never fitted on the steering rack. I'll have to take one of the steering arms off at some point and fit that in. I think I can probably leave the rack on to do it, but I need to take the steering arm off and then work out some way of pinning the bushing so it doesn't come out every time you turn left. Steering rack going on now. This was a little bit fiddly because I put some reinforcement on the axle, and it just made it a little bit difficult to get the bolts in to fit. Just doing up track rod ends, which just cleaned up the threads and reused the ones. The ones on it were actually surprisingly good. There's nothing wrong with them, so they'll go again. Pushing down on it to stop the pin turning. All that remains is the wheels, which I had bought a new wheel, but I discovered that although they are the right wheels, the C90 moped thing, Honda, the wheel has been machined a fair bit to fit the stub axle, so that's a job for another day. I think if you look at this one when it spins, it is a little bit bent, so that's why I bought one, but I've got to machine the hub out and work out how to get it on the lathe to spin it up to turn it down without the rim hitting the bed, so that can wait as well. Just a single nut in the middle. Holds it all together. dog. Back wheel on, I think all the tyres have got slow punctures, but when I get the new tyres it'll sort all that out anyway, so you can live with it. They don't go down instantly, they stay up long enough to have a little play in it without any trouble. And this is where I discovered that the clutch is seized after me washing it. You see it stalls a few times as I'm coming out, it's my excuse anyway. It's good. Got it down onto the field. Kids really jumping in and out of it, doing whatever they do.